Rex Branstatter Senior Talk, brought to you by the Solon American Legion.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is Rex Branstatter, and right here at Senior Talk on a beautiful, well, we'll call it beautiful, Wednesday afternoon in late November 2024. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to sit back and listen to Senior Talk, the weekly radio program where we try to come up with some ideas for seniors. You know, it's not easy being a senior, all the things we have to think about. We'll talk about those things. We're going to talk about maybe retirement and health and finances and income, or lack thereof, expenses, too many, family, living arrangements, and more. We'll work on all of these as we go, and you might hear something that helps you or maybe a member of your family or a friend, and I'll do my best to bring a range of information every week. And you might just hear something today, you never know, that you could extend to your family tomorrow on Thanksgiving. We've got some ideas on that one, too. So we'll talk senior stuff and past people and places and events and all those fun things that, you know, as we get older as seniors, we seem to remember things long time ago clearer now than if you asked me what I did 2 weeks ago. You know, I can tell you that starting lineup of several baseball teams in 1958 and 59, but I have a hard time remembering things that might have happened this last July. So that's kind of the beauty of Senior Talk, and sit down and hang on, see what we can do. And while you're doing that, relaxing, why don't you grab yourself a sandwich and a nice cold root beer, and let's see what we can cook up. Well, my name is Rex Branstatter. I'm 75 years old, and have been a licensed real estate broker since 1974. And I work mainly with seniors and senior families. So if in the event you want to talk about, your living arrangements, where you're at now, maybe the house is too big, or the washer dryer is in the basement, you can't go down there, won't go down there, not supposed to go down there because of your health, that type of thing. It's time to, maybe the best thing is to remodel your house. That's one thing. But we talk about all those things. And you can give me a call anytime on my senior line, 319-330-5534, 330-5534. Had a gentleman call me last week. He is tired of his rental property duplex, so we're going to be dealing with that here pretty soon. And but before we dealt with that, we sat down and had a big talk about his goals and objectives and timing of the thing and funding and a mortgage or no mortgage or financing and taxes and things like that. It just takes a lot of discussion, all to your advantage and your benefit, rather than get a big surprise on anything at the end of the game there. So that's what I do. That's what I prefer to do. That's who I work with. So give me a call anytime, senior line, 330-5534. I'm happy to help you. And I also work a little bit with the local history, so maybe if you have a question like what used to be here or what used to be there or who's going to, that kind of thing, well, just give me a call, and if I don't know the answer, I will certainly put out my tentacles and see if we can round up an answer for you. There's one going around here today. If I remember it, I'll get to it. People can't remember this or that. Well, let's just get to it right now. Up on North Prairie du Chien Road, Prairie du Chien Road, south of the interstate. There's a little dinky trailer court up there. It used to be a trailer court, and when I was a kid, it was Larson's Trailer Court, and there's a little store up there called Cunningham's. You remember all that? Well, they're remodeling. Actually, not remodeling. They're going to replace some of the buildings up there, like kaput, probably. And as they took some of the siding off, they found a big sign that said Hawkeye Lumber Company. Well, I don't, as a kid, back in mid-50s forward, I don't ever remember Hawkeye Lumber Company being up there, but it says it on the side of the building. So the banter today is, does anybody remember Hawkeye Lumber being up there? And the answer is no, nobody remembers that. And they've looked up several resources, and Hawkeye Lumber has been, generally speaking, on the south part of town, central to south part of Iowa City, landing, its last landing spot, and it was a great lumberyard, by the way, on South Dubuque Street. So that's what's going on today. Those are things we try to remember here on Senior Talk. Well, you know, Thanksgiving is upon us. We're on the eve of Thanksgiving right now. Wow. You know, the weather is sliding away, but it is what it is. But it sure seems to me like it was just the 4th of July, folks. Wasn't it just the 4th of July? Didn't school just start Well, now it's been 2-3 months ago for sure, you know. And I'm going to tell you this. I just saw this. The weather forecast for the Macy Thanksgiving Parade in New York City is okay, but a little windy, and it might even get cold as the cold settles in. Only it's not too bad here today yet. So this might be New York's weather tomorrow. We shall see. I hate to have that parade. I don't watch it start to finish or anything like that, but it's a tradition at a lot of people's houses, and we should have it on in the background, you know, when people arrive or we go somewhere and it's on there. So that's what's going to happen there. The thing they detest the most is wind with those big hot air balloons, and that is not good. Well, I have a little bit of scoop here for you. The Mayflower. Now, we all know in our American history on Mayflower, of course, we weren't America thing. We were the Americas, but not the United States. The Mayflower, which is a sailing ship, which landed where? Where did it land in the United States? It landed on basically Cape Cod at Plymouth Rock. That's what we've all been taught in school, and that's what we all go with. And the year was 1620, if you remember. Well, here's a little tidbit that could typify what is right or what is wrong with our country, so to speak. The Mayflower delivered 57 pilgrims on that cargo load. 57 pilgrims and some cargo with them. All right, some things, whatever they would have brought. I don't know. I suppose, you know, some kind of food with them, and all kinds of clothing and things like that. Tools or hand tools so they could build something. But what we didn't know until lately was that the Mayflower was actually a 72-ton wine-carrying cargo ship. That was its main job. So if they brought wine, which I thought the Pilgrims were a little called the Puritans, I thought they were a little right of center there. So wine is either the savior or the issue of our country. You be the judge. The Mayflower was a wine cargo ship. There you go. I'm sure there had to be a couple bottles of wine stashed away somewhere by those people, for God's sake. What do you know? I don't drink wine, but that's the scoop. So thought you might like now that they brought 57 pilgrims in a wine ship. There you go. Well, speaking of Thanksgiving, a big day tomorrow. You know, no other country celebrates it other than us. This is our day, for sure, here in the United States. And thanks is the main word there, and giving, thanks eating, I suppose, maybe the word, or thanks football, whatever you do, whatever your historical or whatever you do. Maybe you're gonna barge into something new this year. Have at it. It's a day you can do that. Nice weekend. Well, one year my dad decided to go to a local hotel for Thanksgiving, and he said, "Have anything and everything I want, and no mess to clean up." That was a highlight. He was trying to get into a different rut, we'll call it. So that was a deal. He said he'd save Mom and himself any kind of cleanup and preparation. We'll just go somewhere and pay him, pick a number out. He died in 1994. Good God, for folks, 30 years ago. Oh, that just hit me, 30. So it's been quite a while ago, and I'm going to say that they paid $9.95 or $11.95 back then. We'll just say that. I don't know. But I remember where they went and stuff like that, and he said, "You're gonna have anything I want, and go on. Want to go back? I'll go back." So they did that 1 year. Keyword 1 year. And he said to me after, he says, "Hell's bells! Every time I wanted this or that, I had to march across a huge room to get a piece of bread or whatever." He wasn't good at that. He'd go out to the kitchen or something like that, but he wasn't good at standing up from a table and marching clear across the hotel ballroom to get another little bowl of peas or something like that. He wasn't about to do that. So that was one and done for him. And he said, and the other thing, Rex, he said, there were no leftovers. He said, I didn't, no way was I going to go up and take a doggy bag up there and fill it up with pieces of turkey or your ham or whatever it's going to be. He said he would never do that. So some people do. And so that was a one and done deal. That's the only time they ever did that, and that was just them. If you do that, you enjoy it, have at it. I don't really know that I've seen advertisements locally about places having a big Thanksgiving deal. I come to think of it, I don't know that I have. I don't see the big maybe they do. If I missed it, I missed it. Sorry, but I don't see the big hotels around Iowa City or Eastern Iowa having the big $24.95 the Thanksgiving dinner type of thing. I don't see that. I wonder what the scoop is there. Expenses, more like. Well, anyhow, it's a fun special day we got coming up for us, so let's just go enjoy it. So, I received a lot of calls this week, senior-related type things that we usually talk about, and I thought I'd bring a couple of them up here. The first one is the serious consequences that could happen, and I actually have two of these. Two. And it's just, I don't know what to tell you. A senior man says this: my wife was having a lot of issues with her eyesight, and she's going back to UIHC for more checkups. And she said the doctors have told her pretty emphatically, this is in both of them, one is a man, one's a woman, that she's going to lose her. They're each going to lose an eyesight, one eye. And he doesn't know about the other one, but I do. And so this man who told me this, he says my wife is distraught that she's going to lose eyesight. Well, wouldn't you be? Wouldn't you both? Wouldn't the husband be as well? Wouldn't all the family be? You're going to lose eyesight at one. It's a sort of deterioration of a bleeding or pressure or type of thing. They didn't say that it was a disease. They just said there's some things going on back behind the eye that doctors have found, and they're not happy about it, and they're not optimistic. In fact, they're pretty determined to tell her that she's not going to have eyesight in the one eye. So, our eyesight is so precious that, wow, best hopes to her, and maybe some sort of thing will take care of that, but she's not optimistic. She wants to be, but she's not. And the other case too, the other case that I'm aware of is caused by diabetes, and it's causing eyesight loss in a particular person. And the families are not excited, to say the least. And the person with the affliction is facing the balance of life as not being able to see. So, folks, we have a lot to be thankful for. Tomorrow you don't think about your eyesight, but you might want to think about that for sure. Well, I got two calls again on this one, a discussion at a minimum. It said a senior lady called and said, I'm actively financially supporting my college graduate son. College graduate son. It could have said daughter, wouldn't make any difference. The outcome would be the same. And she says he lives at home, and he hardly works. And my money is going to him, not anything else. So she's handing him money. What can I do? Well, this is probably and folks, I have to make a disclaimer here. My wife and we have no kids, so we have no experience on here. So I can't tell you what's right or what's wrong, because you're always going to support your kids. So maybe this is a better approach to take. My approach on this thing, what might help you out a little bit. And that is this, is that our kids or grandkids, we might even call it grandkids, meaning today's young adults, are struggling to get a foothold on their personal and professional lives after college, and no wonder. They represent 40% of the nation's unemployed and face a record student loan debt. Now, I didn't have student loan debt coming out of college. I might have had a bar bill downtown. I don't know. But I didn't have student loan debt and the equally challenging earning potential. As a result, they are delaying major life events like buying a home and are often relying on mom and dad for money. Well, I guess, I don't know. I never even thought about going home and living, even during college. I never thought about going back after college. I never thought about showing up at the house and say, gee, I sure like to borrow $500 or something like that. Never entered my mind, ever. Now, in an emergency type of thing, my folks would have taken care of me if I said, oh, I wrecked my car and I can't get to work. Can you let me borrow a car? Or can we buy a used car and I'll pay you back, blah, 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 as long as I had a job. I can see that. But handing me money wasn't going to work. A, I wasn't going to ask for it, and B, I might as well, jumped in the lake first, because that's what my dad would have told me to do, all right? So to alleviate some of the financial pressure of their kids, their experience, their grandkids, many boomer parents are bankrolling them well into adulthood. Handouts may seem helpful, but experts advise against excessive financial support. Wow, without a strategic plan, therein lies my answer, the same as the way you've got to have a plan. You've got to have something put together. So, we're going to do, I'm going to pick a number, $150 a week, and we're going to keep track, and every year going to sign a thing that says $150 a week, because when you land on your feet someday, Mom and I, Grandma and I, we reserve the right to forgive it. We reserve the right to reduce it. We reserve the right to charge it all, for sure. When loaning money, matter of fact, it shouldn't be called a loan. I agree with that. Make it a business transaction. Absolutely. Maybe suggest that since they don't work too good, that they get a part-time job, for God's sake. You can't be sitting down in the basement down there playing video games and eating at our house and we giving you money. That's not going to work. That's a plan for disaster. I don't care what plan or who you are. That is a plan for disaster. Help them find a part-time job. For sure. If your son or daughter is living at home and charge monthly rent. Maybe the 30 to 60 days they're off the bat here, because many kids come home after having life challenges. That's just not abnormal. But it can't go on forever, because one of the main things, folks, you're listening to Senior Talk, where we talk retirement and senior things. You can easily endanger your own retirement. So instead of you enjoying your fruits of your labor, you're giving it to a little Johnny there or a little Sally there, who has in this case, has a college education and graduated and won't work, can't work, has no mindset to work, and all they want's a handout. Baloney, my dad would have said, or worse. Let your grandchild know that the most financial assistance you will provide, here's the most I'm going to do. Here's the most I'm going to do. And that's only going to last until, April 1st. And then you got to sign a paper saying you'll pay it back, and we reserve the right to call off the dogs if we want to. So that's the story, and that's not atypical. That happens. Yes, a lot of these kids and grandkids come out of college with financial debt. We understand. And I've read several things about going into college. Going off to college seemed like pretty innocuous thing and a good positive thing, which it is, as long as you work at it. But actually studying things that you come out the back door, and I'm not picking on any major at all, but maybe the appreciation of art or appreciation of music isn't going to make the money a lifestyle change. Maybe it is. What do I know? I don't know. But things like that, it wouldn't be as probably as helpful in life as a business degree or something like that, or even a good trade, for gosh sakes. So these kids are up against it, and it's not working out for a lot of them. So those folks are kind of at the wit's end with that. Number one, if they go get a job, they could settle all those ills, just about, for sure. All right. Well, the senior lady tells me, she asked me this, we are all set to build onto our house here in town. We know it will cost a lot of money, but we love our neighborhood. Our family loves this house, and we just can't get excited about ever moving. She says, is this okay? And she said, then we looked at a few houses, as you know, and I do know, and we still like our house the best. You bet. And that's normal. I said, well, good. That's great news. Okay. If any of you want to build onto your house, and I'm telling you this now, if any of you want to build on your house, feel free to give me a call, and I'll go over some of the things for your consideration. Number one, look around. Number one, just say, okay, we've come to the conclusion that we want to change locations, or we think we want to change locations. Let's go look around. Let's try to find something like this. When we built this, we lived here now since 1978, we'll say, and the grocery store is still right down the street where it was. We don't really know a whole lot of people, but we really like the location. And as a realtor, I would come to your house, or as an advisor, I would say the first thing I want to look at is your neighborhood. Even if you like your house, you love your house, your family loves your house, they're not paying the freight. They're not making the mortgage payments if you still have one. If you do have one, no problem. You're making the payments. You're the one that lives there day in or day out, even if you don't have a mortgage payment. So let's analyze where your neighborhood is going. And your neighborhood, your neighborhood should be going. There's 3 steps. Number 1, it can be going down in value. It could be going down in the public awareness. It could be going down in the content of the neighborhood, like the people in the neighborhood, what goes on in the neighborhood, different things have changed. Number 2, it could be stagnant. It could just be, 3 houses have sold here recently, 1 for more than they paid, 1 for right at what they paid, and 1 for less than they paid. That means your neighborhood's not going anywhere, as I call it. Or 3, your neighborhood is on a trajectory if things are going good. It's a nice, clean neighborhood, and nobody's parking their car in the front yard and working on a boat in the backyard and all crazy stuff like that. Nobody's moved in your neighborhood, and everybody's got a nice-looking house, and somebody moved in and painted their house green, loud green or loud blue, which happens. God, that makes me mad when they do that. And seems like there's always one. And if it's you, go across the street, look at the whole neighborhood, and what is the reason you painted your house loud green, for God's sake? It's just me talking, but that really gets me. So those are some things you need to analyze your own situation first. But even before that, number 1, you have to answer, can you see yourself living there? Number 2, can you afford it? Get that bid at $65,000, $85,000 or more. Can you afford it? And if you do invest in your neighborhood to that level, we're going to pick a number out here, $75,000, and you do that, have you overbuilt for the neighborhood? Well, the neighborhood in 5 years, you're going to have to be there for a while, most likely. What's the neighborhood going to look like in 5 years? Well, I don't know. I don't know. If you can't answer some of these questions, folks, it is time to look around. That is a fact. All right. And trust me, many, many people have done all the above. They've built on and enjoyed it for many, many years, and so glad they did it. Other people have built on, so God, would we do that for? Now we've got 3 houses on the block or rentals, that type of thing. Or, this didn't work out. It doesn't heat as good as it was. They said it was. Cost 3 times as much. We ate up the backyard. Now we don't have the backyard we thought we were always enjoyed. I mean, there's all kinds of things to go with this. So make the decision slowly. Have a guy like me come over and take a look at it, give you some opinions, maybe have a couple of us come over sometime, have a contractor come over, all kinds of things. Just take your time, for sure. Well, another senior couple says, we have 3 adult, educated, not married kids, all in their 20s. So educated, I'm going to call that college degree, all in their 20s. They're all starting nice careers based on their education. But they all 3 still ask for money. The same thing. They all cite expenses for rent, travel, food, living. We always take care of them. But, well, I gave them the little discourse that we had with the earlier about the lady who called feeding her child money. Same type of thing. And this lady says, but... I say it's time to search your mind on what you want to do. It's your decision, and that is the bottom line. Just because they want money, you don't have to give it to them. And in this case, look at these kids. 3 adult, educated, and not married kids, all in their 20s. They're all starting nice careers based on their education. So careers based on their education, whatever that is, so good for them. But they still ask us for money. Well, to me, the reason they ask is because what? Why is the reason they still ask? That's right, because you keep giving it to them. Kaboom. Good answer. I'm getting a lot of head nods here. I know what's going on. Oh, for sure. Well, a senior friend advises, I've sure been seeing the usual Christmas lights up and around town, and I'm itching to get on the roof and put ours up. Now, this guy is a little north of me, and I know him from one of my really good friends. He's north of me by a year on age, so he's 76. My wife informed me that you are not getting up on the roof any longer. He's 76. And she says right here, you are 76-year-old. Call someone. He said, my wife was adamant. So my question was, I said to him, well, who's the one with the correct reasoning on here? He said, well, I've always done it. There's the answer here. I've always done it. It's a man thing. We've always done it this way. I can do it. Yeah, not a problem. I'll get the ladder out by the time I call somebody and they tell me they'll be over in a week. I could have had them up in a week. I could have had them up here for a week. They could have been up, not a problem. And that sounds easy to say. That sounds like what a man would say. It sounds like I would probably say, only I wouldn't because I do that type of thing. But, the answer is what could go wrong? What could go wrong? And the answer to that is most of the things that could go wrong are not very good. And we all know what that could entail. If you're on the roof, you come sliding down and break anything and everything or do yourself in. So there are a lot of people that put these things up. I have friends this year who called somebody, different people, a bunch of friends. They called somebody, and that company came out, and whatever the cost, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. They didn't offer, and I didn't ask. But they put them up on the peaks of the house, and they had the lights. These people had the lights, but the company said, we got them at good prices, which they did. And the house looks like $1 million. We drove by. It looks cool. And she said, the lady of the house said, did a far better job than my husband ever did. And he was standing right there, so he just rolled his eyes. So it's a good deal. So my buddy who was going to put him up, who's now 76 years old, his wife has declared war on him doing that, is thinking about calling the same company. So I think that's a good idea. You'd be talking injuries and bad ones. I have many acquaintances and the guys I know here in town who have not taken the advice of their wife, so to speak, but not heeded what's the cards that they've been dealt. The fact that getting up on a roof when you're older is not the thing to do, for God's sake. So if you're still doing it, more power to you, but hope you stay safe. That's the most important thing. This guy's really going to stay safe. He's not going to do it. Well, is Thanksgiving gathering a good time to talk to your family about your plans for retirement? Is it a good time to talk to your family, sit them down, and those included in the discussion would be members of who might be included in your will, and kind of go over some of the things in your will? Is that a good time, or are you planning on waiting till a year gone and have everybody gets called into your attorney's office and have the big thing like Johnny gets the farm and Sally gets the house and Jane, our youngest daughter, who never paid any attention to us, she gets the canary, that type of thing. Maybe Thanksgiving's not the time. I'm just asking. I don't know. I don't have any kids. I'm just asking. Is it a good time to tell them that you're going to sell the house, that you're going to be moving? Should you have discussion about other family things? I didn't say politics. That's probably not the place to do it unless you're all on the same side, but you never know. I don't think it's a day for politics. It's the best day for watching parades and eating a good meal and being wherever you want to be and doing nothing is probably the best answer. But then again, sometimes you're going to have some family members back who you don't see very often. Maybe your son lives in Walla Walla, Washington, and he's back right now, and you'd rather tell him to his face that you're going to sell the house or talk about you and mom going to have retirement programs or things like that right to his face rather than call him on the phone. All right. Well, what can you do in December to help yourself? What can you do? Number one, don't do as I do and go to that game tomorrow night in 15 degrees or 20 degrees. Stay inside. I'll probably be sick for a month. Oh, well. My wife's already warned me. She's not going to go. She's already warned me I shouldn't go, but there's a man thing, folks. I'm going. What can you do? Well, if you have a mortgage, make a mortgage payment in December ahead of time. Make your January mortgage payment instead of the first week in January. You'll be able to deduct the interest, which give you a little bit of a tax saving for sure. You still get to deduct the interest, and that's one thing you could do. You could get a list of legal tax deductions, and I capitalized the word legal tax deduction just because Uncle Charlie said you can deduct the cost of a new garbage can at your house. You cannot do that, by the way. There are thousands of legal tax deductions, and you can go online and start some of your end-of-the-year tax planning ideas that could save you some money. That's a big deal, my friends. That's a really, really good deal is to do that. And you could call your CPA or your investment advisor and say, hey, you know something? And don't call them on December 27th, for God's sakes. Call them next week and say, it's toward the end of the year, December, could we come in and meet with you, or can you send me? Can I pick up, or could you send me a list of tax deductions that I could go over, and maybe we could pick up a few more legal tax deductions, all right? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever considered long-term care? Well, Rex, we're 77 years old. What good would long-term care be? Well, I don't know the costs on that, but I do know what it takes anywhere these days from $7,500 to $10,000 a month at a care center. Get that? $7,500 to $10,000 a month at a care center. I don't know what insurance you could buy. Maybe you already have that, but it's a really good idea to consider it. Regardless of your age, they may say, oh, guess what, Mr. Smith, the premium is going to be so high you don't want to mess with it, but you might not have known that. You know, we have a special deal here. If you don't call, you won't know. And who are you going to call, Rex, you big dummy? Who are you going to call? You would call your insurance agent, your life insurance agent. Call, get in. You don't have one. Call. Ask your friends, who's your insurance lady? Who's your insurance guy? They'll tell you for sure. We can leave no stones unturned, folks. If you're in 70s, you know, 80s, you know, we're running down the last lap, and you need to do some things. I've got some great things up my sleeve for after the first of the year. We're going to talk about absolutely for sure. So, have you ever considered other things to help yourself at this time of year? What other things do you think you could do? If you got that list, you might be able to buy yourself a personal computer at home and take a deduction for that. And if you use it partly for business, there are a lot of things you can do, but you won't know unless you take the time. And I don't mean the last week of December, but get on it for sure. All right. Well, I got a call the other day, and this guy says, what was the name of the little cabins on Highway 6 where Lowe's is located today? Now, that's out, I say west of Corville. That's because Corville didn't go there when I was a kid. Where Lowe's is, now Lowe's is located in Corville, but for logical speaking, it's between Corville and Tiffin. How's that? All right. You know where Lowe's is. Well, what were the name of the little cabins? There was a little cabins, a little house, and 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 little cabins out there. Well, he said, do you know what it was called? I said, well, sure. It was called the Oak Grove Motel and Oak Grove Cabins, but it was called the Oak Grove Motel. 3 to 5 or 6 or 7 quaint little cabins, a la the Blue Top Motel on 5th Street in Corville back in the day. The Blue Top Motel, AAA rated motel. Why was the Blue Top on 5th Street in Corville? Anybody really know? Well, the answer was because 5th Street, also known as Patterson Street. Patterson was an attorney that helped get Iowa City on the map back in the 1840s. Does anybody really know why the Blue Top was on 5th Street? Well, the answer is because 5th Street was U.S. Highway 6 cross-country from Connecticut to California before the Corville Strip was born. So that's where the traffic was. We also had the Pine Edge Motel right there. So the Oak Grove Motel was out there west of town. And why were they called the Oak Grove? Because it was situated underneath a whole bunch of oak trees. That's the honest to God's truth. What a deal. And so they were there until I was in several of those. I actually sold some of those things in a real estate deal on one of the segments out there. And they were there until the 90s, some of them, for sure. Yeah. The little cabins were many years. In 1921, here's the demise. Here's the story, not the demise. In 1921, 5th Street was paved in Corville, roughly from where the Highway 6 in Corville, the Corville Strip, comes to First Avenue. Okay, it did not go west from that point. From that point right there, it did not go west. It curved to the north and went up to the dam, the Corville Overhead Dam right there on 5th Street, where our restaurant used to be. Boy, we sure missed that place. And then it turned to the west, and it went west towards Tiffin. That was U.S. Highway 6. And it went out to Tiffin, and it went right past, way out there where the Oak Grove Motel was built later on. Well, here was the big deal in Corville. It got paved out there by about 1922, because it was paved down around the dam area up to about 5th Avenue in 1921. And they got out there, hit and miss for a while. They got out there 1922 and 23. The big entertainment for people back in those days, early 20s. Now, remember, some people were still using horses. True story. They used many farmers used horses up into the 40s and into the 40s. I don't know about the 50s, but up into the 40s, lots of farmers used horses. Actually, I think farmers did use, some of them did use, the old-fashioned guys used it up into the 50s for sure. So the big thing in town was on a Sunday afternoon, you would load up Ma and the kids, Grandma probably, and you get in your car, if you had a car, one of the newfangled deals, a car, and you would, on a Sunday afternoon, drive out there. You drive out Highway 6. Take your life in your own hands, folks. Remember, there weren't many cars around, so you might not even see another car. And you would drive out there to those oak trees and turn around and come home. That was the big outing. And so I told that to that guy, and I could hear him rolling his eyes. He says, "You're kidding." I said, "No, that was a big deal." So the Oak Grove Motel was a real long-term Coralville iconic type of place, but it wasn't in Coralville, but it sure made for some good entertainment for those folks. And you know how things have changed, so you got to go a long ways now to do that. Well, I want you to know that my wife has already waved the white flag on her attendance at the Friday night game at the Iowa football game. She says, "I'm not going to freeze to death watching a football game," and which means she's smarter than me. She is the smart one in the two-person family. In other words, she's just she and I, and she's the smarter one for sure. I said, "Okay for you, I will be in our seats." She said, "Good for you." And I said, "Don't forget, I'm an old Boy Scout, and I know how to dress for the weather." Well, we're gonna see if I know how to dress for the weather. I've got my weather wear all ready to go there in the living room over in the corner. I've been stacking it up on how I'm going to handle this thing, because it's going to be cold, folks. It's going to be like 22 or 23 at kickoff at 6:30 at night. The sun's going bye-bye, and there's dumb old Rex is going to be there with all kinds of other men. Probably won't be many ladies there. I don't know. Maybe they will be. I don't know. So I got Plan A going, and we'll just see. Plan A is going. I think I'll be fine. You bet. So we'll see that. And she says, and then the stern afterburn here. She said, "Don't come to me on Saturday and Sunday and Monday when you're freezing to death still, and now you got a snotty nose, stuff like that. Don't come to me." So she's already drawn the battleground lines here that, A, she's not going to go, and B, I'm an idiot if I go, and B, don't come to her for solace or help taking cold pills if I get. I'm going to tough it, folks. I hope you do too. Get over there. It's our team. And so that's the story here. And speaking of Thanksgiving, one of the things I have to do, I have to sit right straight forward here in my chair and thank any of you and all of you veterans for your serving for this wonderful country, or we wouldn't be having much of a Thanksgiving, would we? We are forever grateful, and thank you for your service to our country. So one of the things we started here last week on Senior Talk is this little motto. It says, "Do all you can while you can," which means this, that we're seniors, and we're somewhere on the back half of the stretch here, maybe more down the road. And so enjoy yourself, do whatever you can, get out there, and whatever it is you can, depending on your situation, and go for it. And I'm going to have a good weekend. I hope you do too. I hope those Hawkeyes really show up and kick some Nebraska fanny tomorrow, and we're going to make that happen. So cheer them on, keep your thumbs up, have a great day with all your folks tomorrow, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. So long.
Your life is always changing, and a lot of things can affect how and what you save. So a good retirement plan changes with your life. At Wells Fargo Advisors, we